Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the... Well, hello there guys and welcome to the KTea time episode 7 of 2021. Now if you're new to the channel, please do go ahead and check out the video description. Tons of useful links there for you, plus instructions how to join the community's line room in addition to Discord server. Or if you are interested in supporting the channel, links on how to become a Patreon or member for the channel. Right, what's up Starlord, Growler, Soraj, Boyan, Shock, Sebastian Garcia, Deopatel, Gandalf, Chris Shaji, Paul Radu, Zuzu, everybody else hanging out. Now, during KT time, as per usual, we're not really going to be reading out most of the chats. We're going to keep an eye on it. We're going to see what you guys are talking about it. But it's much more of a podcast type of a show with me and Mandalorian. And speaking of whom, let's all say hello to the wonderful co-host of KT time. What's up, Mando?
How's it going, KT? And hello to everyone out there in Chatland and in Rewatch Land. If you're not watching this live, we do welcome you to watch this anytime at your leisure. But hey, what's going on, my good friend? How you been?
Oh, it's been like a week and a half. Plenty of stuff on the channel. Plenty of stuff. Oh, yeah. Obviously, in personal life, I think quite a lot has happened since last time we sat down here to chat. But
yeah,
here we are. We do have a lot of new things to talk about because we did get the next update release notes and a bunch of other information dropped about buffs, so on and so forth. Will this be available in audio format? I'm actually gonna try and work towards that probably this week. Yes, I'll try to figure out how to get it on iTunes.
KT and I were kind of waiting for his computer to be built and also to have. We know how to do it. We just have to set it up. I gave him a link a while ago, and it kind of walks us through the step-by-steps we need to do. So yes, probably by next week we'll have it in audio. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say too on that. Yeah. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Yeah, hopefully. So the first point, I mean, in all kind of like normality, well, predictably, should be the upcoming kind of like things in March, right? And we're gonna speak maybe a bit more at length about the boss rush, but in general, let's just talk about everything else that's happening next month. And ultimately, there isn't too much happening next month.
No, I mean, at least what we've got announced so far, which we know there'll probably be more coming, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but as of right now, compared to February, it's more like January than February. February and December, it seemed like were really packed months. Yeah. And even in February, you know, kind of not spending too much time, but February, I mean, we had the lunar gifting, we had the like love letter gifting, we had the side event for that. It just felt like there was, you know, the arenas every week that was refreshing. It felt like there was a lot more to look forward to every week in February.
I think in general they did a fantastic job with February because there was like something happening every week. Then we started trending the love envelopes first, and then we got these other envelopes to trade, and then there were like the Shattered Heart Hero Crystal Shard openings, and there's always like an extra arena. So it wasn't anything kind of like major. There wasn't one very kind of like granite filled monolith piece of content, but it was all the time something like peppered at you to keep you logging in, to keep you busy, like extra login calendars and like small events and things like that. But March is going to be pretty much opposite of that. You get the bare minimum MCOC program plus one boss rush, we can talk about in a bit. So we have the new cow quest, which I assume is gonna feature the same set of nodes that it did this month without any changes, because that hasn't been announced.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna have any changes, which is fine because it'll give people more time to get used to them and such. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to if they do another iteration and they start actually rotating them. So maybe we'll have this for 2 months. Maybe they'll announce it next month, another variation that we have coming. We'll try it for 2 months.
I'm quite curious as to what's going to happen. But there is another unfortunate truth to this whole thing. It doesn't really matter for most people.
No.
I mean, for me, it's okay different because I know I'm going to do cow quest no matter what. And I'm going to cover it because I do YouTube videos. But the fact of the matter is that as long as the rewards are the way they are, they can do whatever they want, and unless they deliver kind of like, oh my god, second coming of Jesus Christ type of event where it just feels absolutely insanely amazing and fun,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna care if the rewards aren't good enough.
No, no. And they really, you know, the same thing the community's been talking about since Cavalier difficulty came out is just give a little buff to the rewards too. I mean, why not? You know?
Yeah, change like just tiny bit more 6-star shots, maybe change the
Or
crystal to
stones,
selector,
something.
or split it in half, give 5% crystal, 5% selector if you don't want to increase rewards. Something just to kind of like give that bit of an oomph. Because
Yeah.
because when Uncollected came out, everybody was like, oh my god, these rewards are great. And obviously over the course of 2 years they became kind of like, nah, whatever, take it or leave it. But when it came out, you need to think about it. You only had like one rank 5 5-star for exploring Act 5, right? And 9,000 TF5B fragments were a huge deal. It was a massive thing, and a quarter of a 6-star when you got only one 6-star every like 3 months or 2 months. It was massive. It was like whole bulk of kind of like top-end resources. It was arguably one of the most desirable sets of rewards in the game.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
that's not
because
the case
now,
here.
I mean, on average, a person like that plays in a high tier, I mean, you get a 6-star once every 2 to 3 weeks at most.
Yeah, at the latest.
And back then, it was like every couple months.
And if you play like Map 7 Alliance Quest in a decent standing, plus some Alliance War at some Plat plus level, you get like a overall of a tier 5 class Catalyst Crystal a month, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because you get like 20% from AQ, plus you can buy the 5% in that sense. If you play Map 7 AQ and spend your glory on the additional tier 5 CC there, Alliance Quest alone gives you one full amount of tier 5 CC, obviously spread across different classes depending on RNG, but you get like basically full tier 5 CC Catalyst worth. And it's just not exciting anyone, I think.
No, it's just missing that extra oomph that we needed to see.
Yeah. And unfortunately, March itself looks like it's missing that extra oomph, and the entire month completely depends on the champions in this case. What's gonna happen with champions?
Yeah.
How good is Odin? How good is Mangog?
That's the kind of scary thing, because we've seen how they do champions that are very, what's the word? The very high tier in our minds. You know what I mean? Like big champions. You know, they've done some right. Dr. Doom comes to mind instantly. They've done some pretty dirty. Airwalker comes to mind. Of course, you know, he's not well known outside, but I mean, he should be a really powerful champion and such. And he's not. Sentry is also another one I think of quite often, and it's interesting. I hope these champions, from the leaked abilities we have seen of and the description breakdown of Mangog, he seems to be pretty awesome. He seems to be like he could be fun. I hope Odin is just as much fun too. I'm happy seeing more persistent charges possibly in the future to champions, because I've always kind of liked that ability, which I really feel like they didn't really like. In my eyes, I feel like they went straight to persistent. They went away from persistent charges and went more towards the pre-fight abilities for a little bit. So I'm kind of, you know what I mean?
I would actually kind of like to see a bit more pre-fights in the game, to be honest. I'm gonna be absolutely honest. I kind of like this idea
those
that
two, yeah.
And there is difference. Like, let's say, Sorcerer Supreme is a good example. Her pre-fight ability doesn't really affect all that much. It really doesn't.
No.
I have used it maybe like 5 times in total.
Yeah.
But then again, we have a champion, and like Invisible Woman, pointless pre-fight. But we have, let's say, Stealth Suit Spidey, where it kind of entirely changes what the character is capable of doing and what kind of things he's capable of countering. And I like that idea where you decide the route you're gonna go in the fight before you go in, and you can like change in between utilities before fight, because that means that you have like an easier time during the fight, because you don't know how to focus on like very specific and hard rotations and kind of like maintain it. And then yeah, I kind of like that idea that you customize the champion's utility with the pre-fight.
Let me say
yeah,
this
I'd like
to
to
you.
see maybe a bit more of that.
Yeah, let me say this to you. Do you think Psycho Man would have been a better character if he had a pre-fight to change his stance permanently to be just one during the fight with a pre-fight?
Probably.
Because I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, you know, like Stealth Suit Spider-Man. Like, okay, obviously you've got Sorcerer Supreme. Hers is you just start in a different phase, but you do one heavy and you can change the phase pretty quickly. But Stealth Suit Spider-Man, like you said, completely changes the way the character fundamentally plays and how he can counter certain scenarios and champions and nodes and all that. it would have been so much better had they done that with Psycho Man also, to make it where he could permanently go into that mode. Or at least do it for like the first 30 seconds, you know, the fight or something.
I think if you have some sort of more controlled rotation, like, because that's one of the things that really annoys me with champions, that have like 89 different abilities and none of them are good, and then you also have very hard time navigating between all of them, and then you, I don't know, launch a special attack at the wrong time because you're forced to or you forget, and it's just frustrating experience. I think a lot of that can be cleaned up with pre-fight, where you can have 89 different pieces of utility, but if you can select what you want for a specific fight, then you can have much more enjoyment in the fight, kind of like keeping in your lane and doing the stuff that you brought the champion in to do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, kind of like what Kabam needs to focus more on, is not trying to give them all these different things where it's a page just for the sake of being a page. And having all these different utilities. They need to focus on making them just a good champion that can deal with certain things, because otherwise we're going to skip over it and go to somebody who we know has a consistency to do that every single time.
But back to the next month event. So as we discussed, Cavalier difficulty, we're going to have it as always, obviously monthly event quest. As by the looks of it, nodes are not changing. It can be the same as the last month, which is fine, I suppose. It wasn't as big of a fun, but maybe they grow on me, so that is that.
You want to know what I hope does change?
One thing that we need to talk about is the side event, which again is kind of, you know, up there in terms of having people spin their heads and scratch their foreheads.
Yeah, what I was going to say real quickly for the main event quest, what needs to change is we don't need to see the 4-star 10% T5CC be held behind that.
We don't have 4-star challenge next month, and I'm happy about that.
Hopefully. So much. I hate that stuff. Yeah. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, I hope it never comes back. I honestly do.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention that. I didn't mean to interrupt or anything.
No worries. All good. Right, so I actually just made a video about the side event, and I'm not gonna like go over exactly how it works, but I just made a video kind of like explaining all of the bits, what you should and should not focus on. But we do have the rewards now in front of us, which are actually quite decent for side event, because, like, you know, you don't expect side event rewards to be like magic, right? You just expect kind of them to be good enough, I suppose. And I think for vast majority of the players, they will be satisfactory. I think there is 5-star Awakening Gem Crystal, 5-star Nexus for the first time in there.
It's nice. Yeah, very nice.
Half a 6-star Crystal, 5-star Crystal, some 5-star shards, 10 Tier 5 CC frags plus another 10 if you do the challenge, 1.1 Tier 5 basic, 2 Tier 2 alphas. I'd really like to see more Tier 2 alphas. That's still a big problem, and they're not addressing that.
Yeah.
I'm annoyed.
Because they put out deals constantly. Yeah. That's where they want the money.
That is the thing. All the Tier 2 alpha is there. It's out there, but it's in the deals pretty much. 86 stones, which is quite okay, by the way. And again, Tier 5, Tier 4 basics, even that we're not gonna grab that much. But that is about the maximum rewards that you can earn next month, plus some ISO, plus some gold, plus some legendary crystals or 4-star crystals and stuff like that, which I didn't include here.
Right. But, you know, overall, I like that it's a nice balance between not just crystals, but also some rank up resources too.
Yeah, overall, it's not too bad, I think. Overall, I think most people will be quite happy with that. And,
yeah, I mean, obviously, I wish it was more for rank ups like the Tier 2 Alpha. I wish it was like maybe 2.5, but I mean, just shy of 2 is kind of lame.
On a personal level, I'm just looking for 6-star shards. More 6-star shards, the better, but okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, hopefully with the 5-star shards, the 5-star Nexus and all that, and the 5-star Crystal, it'll give us most of our champions as 5 stars are awakened anyway. It'll give us more 6-star shards with the dupes and ISO, so that'll be nice, you know. But yeah, I think in regards to this, as long as you're Cavalier, the free Tier 5 class Catalyst shards are coming. For anyone who doesn't do like map 7 epic modifiers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do understand. But yeah, so that is that, and the only other extra kind of like quote-unquote special thing that is going to happen next month is going to be the Women's Day boss rush. And I know many people are very, very excited about that, because I think the last contact we had with Boss Rush was...
It was in July when they did the 6 weeks.
Yes. Was here when they did the 6 weeks of boss rushes, and it actually had quite decent set of rewards, as in like there was like a 5-star crystal for doing each of these, I think. And then there was 1 second, I actually have it in front of me. I don't know why I was guessing that, but
I was gonna say I know I got you the link for that. Yeah,
but on the epic one, so basically the monthly events was like 6,000 5-star shards and 500 6-star shards, which wasn't anything too great. But then there was the big one, which had a couple of tier 2 alphas, couple of tier 5 basics, and 10% tier 5 CC class selector, which ended up being 20%, 10% selector, 10% crystal.
Yeah, which was awesome.
But I don't think this is what you're getting. I don't think this is what's going to happen at all, because this was a very long set of boss rushes, and you can see that individual boss rush rewards here was 6,000 5-star shards and 5,000 6-star shards. So I think for that we need to go back to Women's Day boss rush.
Which I expect these to be buffed. I do expect these to be buffed a little bit.
Yeah, I do expect these to be buffed. But here we have the nice artwork from Cat Murdoch about like who exactly were the ladies last year, designing these fights and picking the champions.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of cutting off.
Yeah, it's I know it's cutting off a bit, but I'm gonna keep like that because I don't want to mess with proportions. Oh, I actually know how I can do that. I can just...
I was gonna say I gotcha.
There we go. I think this is gonna be good enough.
Friend. Yeah, but it was a really fun boss rush. It didn't take too much time. Let me put it that way. It didn't take too much time. It was creative. I liked the fact that those particular content creators ended up creating like their own little titles and stuff too, and you could choose which one to get and stuff. So I really liked that.
Yeah, it was nice, quick and easy. So you can see it was Starfighter, Cat Murdoch, Miss Insomnia, Katie Candy, and Laura Grant. So the artwork here was done by Cat Murdoch, by the way. Huge shout out to her. She's doing some very cool graphics and a bunch of other cool stuff. And
I actually love this artwork.
No idea Laura Grant was content creator. Well, she wasn't, but she kind of got asked to get involved.
It was kind of controversial last year when they did it, but honest truth is, it still was fine.
It's fine.
I mean,
it's fine. And so it was these 6 ladies that we had to beat. So the jokes were made that it wasn't like celebration of women, but the beatdown of women. But I'll leave that there. But
I'll never.
The rewards for that though was like 10,000 5-star shards and a title a year ago, and that was about it. It was a nice, neat little event that you could do in like 15 minutes, and it was 1 5-star crystal basically.
Yeah.
Now that being said, also time has passed, an entire year has gone round, and the meta and the state of the game has changed. So it's likely going to be more focused, probably towards at least some splash of 6-star shards. But effectively, you shouldn't expect much in terms of rewards.
No, I'd imagine either, they could do like 15k 5-star shards again, or they could do like 10k 5-star and like 2k 6-star, something like that. The only thing I didn't like about last time, the boss rush, and I'm sure it'll be the same this time if they do titles again, it used to be that like you could run it multiple times and get every title, and last year they only let you do 1 title. Like the title you picked was the only one you got, even though it let you pick it again, you didn't get another title if you ran it a second time, which was kind of a bummer. So I kind of wanted all the titles.
But I just want to it's not a bad thing. I'm not like kind of like dissing on it. Like it wasn't a long quest and it was like a neat little something. But I also want people to have right level of expectation approaching this event, because everybody hears boss rush, everybody thinks it's kind of like something, this big amazing thing, but it not necessarily will always be. It might be just a 15-20 minute thing where you go in, you have a bit of fun, you have some challenging fights, and you get a 5-star crystal. And that's perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but you might be disappointed if you expect some big rewards or some sort of very meaningful change for your account or something. I know Kabam said that they will increase the difficulty and also the rewards, but
It still shouldn't be
But
insane.
I doubt it's going to be like this big event. Never has been.
I don't think it'll be. I don't think it's going to be as difficult or as long as the last Omega boss rush.
Yeah,
the
of
one
course.
that was the
Of course
6th
it won't
week
be.
or whatever. I don't think it's going to be like that.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be 6 fights. I think they're going to be a bit trickier. I don't think it's going to be any longer than that. And I don't think the rewards will be significantly changed.
I think if I remember, that rogue was a pain in the ass last year.
Yeah, I know many people are complaining about the rogue, I think. But I think you could also
that was so
she's her. But yeah, it would be interesting to see if Liza is in there this year. I would kind of be willing to bet she is. Her channel has been doing quite well, and I'd be happy to see her in there. But yeah, and again, don't put this into a negative way. All 6 of these are wonderful, great ladies that are in the community, and we should be happy for them that they get to do something that we all get to play with, you know? I think every single one of us would be happy for the opportunity to do that, and they did. So just look at it in like positive sense, and yeah, hopefully, let's say Liza this year also maybe gets to join in on the fun there.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome if they did, you know.
Right, but now we have the heftier, harder subject to go over, right?
Yeah, this one's gonna be a little tougher.
The bigger, the more important things.
Yeah, let's not say more important, just beefier.
Well, I think more impactful things. How about that?
Okay, impactful is understandable.
Okay, so let's bring up Angela in here. I think now I just need to adjust this tiny bit. And let's start with Angela's buff, right? Because that's the one that we actually knew about. That's the one that we expected. That's the one that also a lot of people are very hyped for, to be honest. What do you think about it?
I'm excited. She may be my new favorite redhead again. I keep changing redheads apparently.
I know redheads are very, very prominent in this game. They're definitely
spicy.
Disproportionately representative in MCOC, because we have like Medusa, we have Angela, we have Elsa Bloodstone, we have Phoenix. All I'm saying is there aren't that many redheads in the world proportionally to all the other.
To the amount they have in here. You know, I think they have less brunettes than they have redheads and blondes in this game.
Yeah.
Or even brown, you know. But anyway, she looks like the perfect like adjustment to a champion you could do. You know, you're not taking anything away. You're doing slight tweaks to her to make her just a little bit better, to make her more of a dominant person in your roster, to make her signature ability being much better than what it is. Because right now, let's be honest, it's perfectly useless.
Yeah. I think that was like the one thing that Angela was mainly known for. Her signature ability is useless. Yeah. But now it looks like it's going to be a decent signature ability. She's going to have that. While the armor break isn't a lot, it just opens up. There's a lot of champions that if you're to armor break them, it just shuts them down. Like Killmonger comes to mind. He can't do the you know, the, what do you call it? Why is it slipping my mind? You know what I'm talking about though, right? The vibranium feedback. Yeah.
So I mean, even though it's a small armor break, it's still great. Her ability for nullifying and auto block ability, accuracy, being able to shut that down a bit, to stop damaging debuffs, is going to make her excellent for suicide mastery players. Her potency of the buffs is just everything on that is going to be great, because you know, if she's taking some damage, she's usually got that healing up. She's over 1 bar of power. She's got her fury, her armor, you know, all great stuff.
Overall, I must say that my biggest thing, well, first of all, obviously I want to see how she feels and how her damage actually looks like, because she has gotten several, let's say, minor damage increases in between, like her fury being more potent, her aptitude being more potent, getting that armor break. All of those little things can add to something meaningful, or it can be hardly noticeable. So that's going to be the first important thing that I want to look at. And then the second one is definitely how her signature ability works, because if you can very quickly and effectively access the 3 buffs, which you can kind of with her, you probably can do it in like 6 hits by landing 3 heavy attacks. And that means that she could be very, very, very viable for a ton of nodes, and she could actually end up being the best option, or one of the best options, for a whole heap of stuff. thanks to the damaging debuff duration reduction. So, but here's the trick: whether it's multiplicative or it's adding like on top of it, because if you still take several ticks even when you have plenty of buffs on, it might not work as well and she might not be as viable. It's also going to be important to see how she scales. Now, the only thing that I kind of don't like about this buff though is because vast majority of the kind of like cool new stuff that she's getting is in the signature. And that obviously makes it kind of like harder to utilize it with 6-star champions.
Because like a great example, I have my first 5-star, sorry, rank 4 was Angela, and she's awakened. I think she's like almost max sig from just naturally duping her, which has been useless. But my 6-star, I have a 6-star and she's not awakened, and now it's like, wow, I'm going to be missing out on all the great stuff as my 6-star, and I'm not going to rank up my 5-star, you know?
Yeah, exactly, because nobody really wants to rank up the 5-stars anymore, but 6-star signature levels are quite exclusive kind of thing. So that I am not quite a fan of. But again, stepping away from my personal position, just the simple fact itself that Angela is as good as she is going to be, I think that is quite cool, and I think she has potential for like stuff like caustic temper. So she theoretically maybe could be another, not ideal but workable Mr. Sinister counter now, possibly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there is the EMP modification anymore. Caustic temper, and
she should be great for that.
Yeah, and potentially she can do that. She can do for like biohazard, caltrops, freezer burn, and a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah, I'm actually looking. It's kind of funny because I got the major, what I felt like was majority of the major cosmics at rank 3 that I really liked. The only one I was really, you know, if I ever pull Captain Marvel movie, but now she's a contender. If I awaken her as a 6-star, she is for sure a contender if this ends up working out well.
Yeah, and also it's quite important to see how her sig scales, because if let's say you can get a full immunity with 4 buffs instead of having 3 at a lower sig, kind of like Archangel, right? Because Archangel starts at 25%, and then you shut down a champion with 4 neurotoxins on. If you get him to 112 sig, then you need 3 neurotoxins on. If that is a similar thing here, then even at low sig, she might be very, very viable, and that would be amazing. But if her signature ability scales like Guardian, for instance, where he gets 2/3 of his increase in last 86, it would not work out. But it will be interesting to look at, because obviously she already hit quite hard, she was suicide friendly, and I like that, and now she's set to hit harder and has a bit more utility, and I like that a lot. So I'm actually quite hopeful for the champion, and I'm quite sure that she's going to be very, very, very helpful for a lot of newer players who are still in the 5-star meta.
Yeah, I definitely think she's going to be a great little tweak. So I'm definitely happy about that.
Yeah, also another thing I want to note, when I heard she's only going to be getting a value update, I was kind of scratching my head, because I didn't think the values were the exact problem with Angela. But I was very, very positively surprised that she actually gets some extra love and a bit more than just a value update.
Yeah, I guess what they consider a value update is different than what we think.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely it does all the right, it ticks all the right boxes and makes it look like a potential great, you know, new, I almost don't want to say new champion, but it's not a new champion, it's just a little refresh, you know?
Yeah.
It's nice. It's what we've been wanting.
Yeah, it's quite good. Kind of like what Red Hulk got, and we all know Red Hulk is turned on fantastic.
God, I love my Red Hulk. I feel like he's still overlooked so many times because of other science gems, but his damage is just so good.
Now let's take a look at the champion that I already enjoy a lot, and that's.
I'm guessing you're gonna say Massacre.
I'm gonna say Massacre. Yeah. And
I like him too.
With Massacre, I always kind of felt that a lot of people are quite afraid to use Massacre, because there's always that, what if I don't get my bat ignited? And it's kind of like tricky to play, and what if the AI doesn't play that I want? So he was one of those champions where every single fight you start, you kind of like have a mission to do, similar to, let's say, Proxima. But it wasn't always the easiest thing to do, because you only had a limited amount of time. Now with practice, you can get quite confident, and when you do access like the full potential Massacre can have, he's a very, very good champion. In fact, I think he's quite underrated in the community. As I said, I even used him just for his own abilities without needing any synergies with anything else. I love to use him in past Cav EQ quest because he's extremely fun. He worked fantastic there, and I even used him in 7.1 exploration because he did put in quite a lot of work.
Yeah, and I liked him too. I never really used him with synergies as much. I know a lot of people use him for the Fire Trinity, you know, him, Red Hulk, and Domino. And Domino would always be the... It's kind of funny because I didn't have Domino for the longest time, but I had both Red Hulk as a rank 5 5-star, and I have a 6-star Awakened Massacre before I ever had a 5-star. And I just recently took him up to rank 2. He's a fun character to play. Both of them have always been really fun out of that Trinity, and to see him getting this like value update just makes him a little bit, I guess the easiest word is more user friendly for those that maybe haven't been.
Yeah, I think that's the key here.
Yeah,
because I didn't significantly change anything. He gets like a slight damage increase on level 2 and a few more things, but the main change is here. The main change here is definitely that he's going to be a lot easier and a lot less stressful to rank, because previously you had like very tight window to get those 10 incinerate charges, the ignite charge, or whatever. You had a very tight window to kind of like refresh them, and then it obviously expired and you had to start it all over. Now the entire set of changes pretty much is working around the idea of giving you more time and making the fight more relaxed to get to kind of his max potential, much less than increasing his potential of changing his kit, which I think is great change. I think a lot more people will just kind of casually go, oh, Massacre, I might as well bring him in, like, you know, because you're going to be a bit more confident to use him.
Yeah, because now it's going to be a lot easier, because the whole fact that it lasts not only 20 seconds, but it's 20 seconds to get one ignition charge. That's doubling the amount of time.
No, it was
so that's
12 seconds. It's 20 now, so it's not quite doubling, but it's a very huge.
Oh no, I meant to get the. Wasn't it 10 seconds to?
It was
get the
12
ignition?
seconds to both of them. It was your ignition lasted 12 seconds, and you got 12 seconds duration of the ignition charges.
Hold on, I'm looking at it right now. About either Lance Kruger blocks or it gets. No, it was 10 seconds for the to gain an ignition charge and 16 seconds for once he hit 10. So it gave him 4 more seconds for ignition, but double the time. To do it.
Fair enough. So still,
I wanted to make sure
the ignition lasts longer. It's much easier to get there. So, I really do like that. I think a lot more people will be kind of like less afraid to try out using him, and I think he's going to be a lot more user friendly. Now, another thing that they changed with that level 1 that I'm definitely not a big fan of is that they changed the disorient increase duration. First of all, they add, instead of 100% increased duration for the disorient, they gave him 200% increased duration. So if you do everything quote unquote properly, instead of 24-second disorient, you're working with 36-second disorient, which is huge. But now you get that bonus duration on the disorient, kind of like other way around. Previously it was you gain the bonus if opponent is incinerated. Now you gain that if opponent isn't incinerated.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. Because if you're doing your job correctly, with Massacre opponents always incinerated, and incinerated multiple times over.
Yeah.
So I don't quite like that change at all. But there is a reason why they did it, I think. You want to take a guess?
I don't know. You do it. You tell us.
Okay. It's Cav difficulty EQ node. So the idea is basically you get to your level 1, you drop your level 1, and then you get 36-second disorient where opponents can't evade. Because, you know, skilled champions disorient evade.
Smart.
And then you can build up the incinerates, and then you can do whatever else you want. I think that's pretty much the sole reason why they did that. But
so they're changing the champion to compensate for the node that they just introduced last month. A lot of people hated.
I think so. It's my theory. I can't prove it, obviously. It's just what I think. And obviously, then you have sig ability changes, which are cool. Which sig ability for him was never like that important. It just helps you get ignited better, easier, which is about it. But yeah, overall, so I think out of all champions, Massacre got the smallest change. He's gonna feel much more similar than he did before than other champions do, which is fine, because I also would argue that he was probably the best of the champions that got changed.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another, if they've done another refresh that's similar to this, and really I think this is the only one I can think of that was a decent champ. They just made it a little easier. Because most other ones that they
arguably Mole Man is easier to use because his duration is increased and it's easier.
Mole Man just feels like a completely different character to me.
But technically, the change they did to Mole Man is kind of like to make him easier and more realistic to use, give him more charge and heavy attack, and make them last longer, kind of stuff.
Which is kind of making skill class become kind of they're not lacking as much anymore. They're starting to get a little bit more back. So.
Especially with like Mole Man, Kingpin, and especially with Falcon, kind of like starting to play more and more roles in competitive game modes now. Like Falcon and both Mole Man are both being used in the highest tiers of Alliance War and stuff like that. So skill class is doing better. Obviously, there are the misses of the skill class like Deadpool, Hell's Kitchen, and stuff like that, but.
He's more of a defender, I found. I really have seen him used more as a defender and getting kills.
You won't be able to
if you're not
ghost.
Well, at least when he first came out. Let me put it that way.
You're not going to be able to ghost Daredevils anymore. That's another change that they're doing. I think I have.
Oh yeah, that's going to be interesting. Release notes. I don't know about that.
Because both Daredevils can't miss. Previously, it was like certain miss mechanics that they could bypass, that they were invisibility based. But now it's just that both of them are basically immune to miss. So it's basically kind of like both of them have built-in vigilance.
I guess his ability now just is able to transcend all dimensions, so Ghost can't get it.
It is quite annoying. I'm gonna be honest. I hate that. And I'm sure I'm gonna forget about it, and I'm sure I'm gonna get hit.
Well, what I will say though is at least it does. Because, Daredevil, Hell Kitchen, it used to be called Netflix, he got the buff when the original didn't. At least this gives kind of a silent buff to the original Daredevil, which is...
But yeah, I wasn't too impressed with this change, to be honest. I like the fact that it was kind of like a fun Easter egg, but it's just Ghost is taking another one on the chin.
Yeah, I know. It's nerfing Ghost without nerfing Ghost. That's what it's doing. It's changing champions to be able to respond to it. Anyway, sorry, don't want to get too much.
Okay, but yeah, there's not that much to talk about Massacre aside from the fact that I think he's going to be easier to use, and I liked him already, so I'm sure I'm going to like him even more overall after the changes.
Oh yeah, I already like playing him now, even since I just recently, because I recently ranked him like 3-4 days ago, and I played him a little bit in some content, just re-going over some nodes and stuff to see how he felt as a rank 2, and he's already so much fun, and I can ignite the bat no problem. Well, now it's going to be so much easier to do that. If you have a difficult AI that doesn't want to go.
Yeah, sometimes you get that sketchy AI. But okay, let's move on to the next buff here. Which is going to be Civil Warrior. I'm guessing we're going to talk about
Civil Warrior.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Civil Warrior. So this is one that I think needed a buff the most so far.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he's a tech champion, which we do need more tech champions. Because there are about 5 that I can think of off the top of my head that are really good, and then the rest are kind of mediocre, or not good at all. But he is one of those champions that he's such a cool champion. He looks cool. He's like a cross between Captain America and Iron Man, and why wouldn't you want that? But now he's being changed up, and he's going to be so much better in some aspects, but different in others.
Yeah, so, obviously, ultimately, I do think that with this change, Civil Warrior is going to be a lot better champion than he is right now. This change, I actually think that Civil Warrior actually has a hope to be kind of used daily by a lot of people. Now, I'm not this is a champion I personally have the most skin in the game, from a sense that I do have a duped 6-star, which I am quite happy about, yeah. And I have a 5-star rank 4 as well. But I do have a couple of concerns. I do have some things that I don't like, but ultimately I think that anything that I don't like will still obviously get outweighed by the positives. It's just I don't like the fact that there are negatives to these changes, but we're going to talk about that much more with the change of Hood. So in case of Civil Warrior, they are taking away his ability accuracy reduction thing. So let me just jump in the game and check how he is now. But the base idea currently for him is that per armor up, you're reducing opponent's ability accuracy. Right, so let me...
Which used to be huge.
Which used to be a very big part of his kit. So here is
Yeah,
the Civil Warrior. Let me find his exact description.
I got it right here if you need it, but you can. I know you need to bring it up.
When attacked,
under,
for each armor up effect active, Civil Warrior advanced Stark Tech protects him further, reducing enemies' offensive ability accuracy by 15% per armor up charge. That is a big thing, because you basically get 6 of these, which you could do relatively easily. And the opponent has 90% reduced ability accuracies. That means if you do get hit by someone, you don't get bled, you don't get shocked, and special attacks don't like do much of their effects and stuff like that. Basically, opponent effects fail to trigger, and that was like a very big kind of like thing for the champion, because it is very important ability. It's basically easier accessible Warlock's infection ability reduction, where opponent's offensive ability accuracy, offensive abilities fail to trigger.
Yeah,
and that's not there anymore.
I kind of liked that because that was kind of the only thing he had going for him, so to speak, was the fact he could shut down a lot of abilities from triggering when he had 6 or more armor ups, and that's not hard to do. I mean, it's kind of like Aegon. If you took a hit, if you took some hits at the beginning of the fight to get like Furies with Aegon, it's kind of like that with him. If you took some hits, you could get your armor ups and then shut him down with ability accuracy reduction, you know? And now it's kind of like that's gone, so that utility is gone, but they're giving us more damage, which is kind of scary when you think about it. Like, and I know we're gonna talk more about it with Hood, but
also there is another thing that they are kind of taking away from him, right? Or at least changing and making it less effective. So there was a second thing that I really liked is Civil Warrior's MK2 suit grants him 15% poison and bleed damage resistance for each stack of armor up active. This does not function while fighting Cosmic Champions. Right. He still has part of it, but it's significantly less effective for each.
It's not as much.
Yeah, so
it's not as much percentage. What is it now? Is it like?
No, it's 25, but it's different. So now it's going to be for each armor buff active on Civil Warrior, reduce the opponent's bleed and poisoned ability accuracy. That means that if you are already bleeding or getting poisoned, you're taking the full damage. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't. That's so stupid.
And
why
previously you could heal off willpower if you were like armor upping and stuff like that. So that was another thing that was kind of like better before. And these are the things that I don't like. I obviously like that champions are getting better, but again, it's why take that away?
And you know, again, we're talking about it more with Hood, but yeah, I don't like this taking away things to give us more damage or tweaking things to make it seem, because it's kind of like Iron Man Infinity War. You know, when he gains an armor up, he can't be affected by cold snap and such. And I'm pretty sure if you gain an armor up when you have one of those on it, it takes it away, right?
Yeah, it purifies because it gives him an immunity instead of some sort of ability accuracy reduction or whatever.
Which is stupid to take it away now. Like, that's what it's basically doing. It's saying, well, we're not going to let that happen unless it was already armor up was already there.
Yeah.
You know
so those are the negatives about changes that are very irritating and do take away some of the champion's utility, which was the only thing that this champion used to be good at. But ultimately it's Civil Warrior, and let's face it, almost nobody uses him for anything. Therefore, I don't think it is kind of like as meaningful as the other champion that we're going to talk about later. Now, on the plus side, they kind of amped up every single other ability he has. He gets more armor ups, more easy, that last longer, and he gets longer heal blocks, and his power drain now does extra damage, basically power burn on the level 2, so there's some extra damage there. His level 3 has, I think, better effect with like the power lock and stuff like that.
What I was going to say is what I like the most, and this will benefit you specifically, is anybody that has him awakened now. It previously was his signature ability was he would gain 2 armor buffs when it started, but now he gains 2 permanent armor up buffs, which makes him a great counter for Havoc, for example.
Yeah, there's another ability in that signature that's cool, that you reduce opponent's stack rating by 60%. If you're blocking, and that even works on level 3s, and especially with level 3s, if you have a ton of armors up already, you wouldn't be taking that much damage to begin with. So
yeah, because for that one, he said right now it says he receives a percentage of special damage resistance while blocking and plus 30% when fighting mutant champions. So now it changed to a lot more, like it's double, and it doesn't just mean for mutant champions, it's for everybody. It's doubled to 60.
And that means you're going to be able to tank some serious special attacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, think about, I look at it as, remember the Thanos fight, the nameless Thanos fight we had to fight way back when? He would be perfect for that now because he would reduce the attack rating of that by 60%.
Yeah.
He could possibly survive it.
Yeah, you can possibly survive a lot of specials. So, and obviously then there is that 50 Fury mechanic, which I have some reservations for. And I'm gonna be honest, and that reservation that I have by the Fury mechanic, which obviously sounds cool, 50 Furies, who doesn't like looking at 50 Furies on your champion? Keep in mind they aren't the biggest individual Furies. It could be 3 Furies if they're the size of like Dr. Doom's Furies, for example, right? Instead of 50, it's just, there's gonna be a lot of them, but they're not gonna be individually as potent, and getting to max damage will obviously take quite a bit of a time in every fight. But the problem for me is that those Furies last 12 seconds, and you can refresh them, but like you need to add a new. That means every 12 seconds you need dash back and hold block for 1.2 seconds. So if you take 1.2 seconds out of the 12-second duration, it means that every 10 seconds you kind of need to do that, pretty much.
Yeah, but I don't think it'll be too big of a thing. 1.2 seconds is really not that long.
I think it could be a very big of a thing because it takes you out of his rotation, because his rotation was kind of like all about spamming the heavy attack, dropping level 2 power draining, spamming the heavy attack again, so on and so forth, and kind of like not giving opponent an input window to do anything. And this will do that, and this will make you take block damage, and it just will feel the fight to have some sort of, it's not going to be a smooth fight anymore. It's going to be something that you consistently need to keep an eye out for. And then if opponent doesn't throw special attack when you want it, you kind of end up losing them and stuff like that.
But again, you choose when to do this. It's a player choice. You don't have to do that if you don't want to.
Well, but you want the damage and you don't want to drop them.
Yeah,
if you spend
but at the
2
same
minutes
time,
building up to 35 Furies, you don't kind of just want to let that go away.
Well, right, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, but at the same time, it's a trade-off. You have to decide. Yeah. So they're giving you that choice. And yeah, it kind of takes you out of the rotation and whatnot, but at the same time, you're making that choice, and then you have, 10 more seconds, let's say, because it takes you 2 seconds to do everything and get back in the fight, but you have 10 seconds of just ultimate damage you can go for.
Yeah, so fair enough, I guess, but this champion does look quite interesting, and I do have quite high hopes for him. I don't think he's going to be, like, let's say, as good as Hulkbuster, but maybe I'm wrong. And as I said, I'm personally very interested to follow this buff because I do have a duped 6-star, and you never know, if he's amazing, he might end up getting ranked up because he's a tech champion with power drain, with heal block, and with fury buffs now, and some tankiness to him. So it does look like an interesting combination.
Yeah, definitely looks like adding. And I said this whenever Psycho Man was coming out. I want new or better tech champions, and I think we're getting that too. So the two classes of champions I think are really lacking right now is skill and tech, and it looks like they're trying to do those justice by buffing those types of champions. So we'll see. Now let's go to the most controversial of the buffs, quote unquote.
Yeah, the final buff that caused enraged mob. Whoopsie, wrong tab.
Oh no.
It's fine. Here we go.
Don't open the OnlyFans.
All good.
Kidding.
OnlyFans.
By the way, congratulations
on
on getting Super Scroll.
Yeah, I just checked the leaderboard. I did get Super Scroll. I landed 219th. I think I finished on I finished on 52.4 million. It's not in my mail yet, but
yeah, that's good to know. Well, congratulations on that. Good. How much did you end up finishing with, roughly?
52.4 million. It was 219.
52.4, yeah. And 216. So yeah, it probably went for mid 40s then, I would think.
Yeah, probably somewhere.
But yeah, let's talk about the hood. So we kind of have discussed this on the streams a couple times. You've kind of made a video specifically about it, but together us talking about it. This, along with what they did to Civil Warrior as well, is setting a very dangerous. It has the potential to be a very dangerous precedent.
I think
they're setting up.
Like, it is setting a very dangerous precedent that we didn't really notice previously, because the champions were that bad. Now, when you're touching champions that some people already use, it's completely different category. Like if you take away Iron Man's regen in favor of 98 different things, nobody will care, because nobody uses Iron Man and invests resources in Iron Man. But if you are changing mid-level champions that there are people who use and have invested resources in, it immediately causes a huge problem.
Which I am on my baby account, and exactly that. I fall into that category because I have him on Awaken. He was my first rank 4 5-star. I use him weekly with my Alliance Quest team for map 5, and I can tell you his Hex Seal that he has with the Special 2, I have used quite a bit to shut down enemies from, like, for example, Medusa, to stop her from getting her Furies and such, so she can't auto block or anything like that. Or War, I've done the same thing sometimes. And the fact that they're changing that, or I wouldn't say changing, they're taking it away from his Special 2 and adding more damage other places and such, it kind of, it puts a bad taste in my mouth where they can possibly in the future, I mean, I won't say they will, but they can go about and change things, as we've said in the past, with, like, for example, Corvus Glaive. His signature ability is no longer going to be, they'll give him more damage or more charges he starts with every match, but now he's not immune to death as long as he has charges. Now he's maybe, he doesn't suffer from debuffs or something. You know, that's something they could change, and it would mess it up and change it, nerf a champion, but because they're calling it a buff, they could technically get away with it, so to speak. I don't think the community would let them, but you know what I mean. And you've kind of said the similar thing as well. So I don't know if it's a fair trade-off.
Okay, so just so it's like fair on everybody, we're gonna go over the main kind of like changes. I don't have the cosmetic post over here, but the whole base idea is that he's getting a completely new mechanic, Hex Pistols, where basically you stack hexes with your mediums or level 2, and then you can detonate them with your heavy attack, or after level 2 you get even like more hex vulnerability, and then they take even more damage, and that's kind of like the upside. They have changed the invisibility mechanic a bit as well, where you effectively will be able to use him a bit more like Ghost with some more restrictions, where you have 120% chance for opponent to miss the first hit, then 100%, then 80% every consecutive hit in the one circle of invisibility. And also now you are stun immune whilst invisible, but not whilst you're in cooldown, which it was before. And there are a couple more things taken away, like the debuff refresh from heavy attacks to a degree, because it's like more specific now. And they have reduced the duration of stagger. But the big problem is that they have taken away the level 2 Fate Seal, which was like one of the main things for him, because it was a very potent ability.
Correct. Yeah.
Because it doesn't count as nullify or purify or whatever, and also it lasts very long. It has 100% chance to activate. It deals with all buffs, so it's a really potent kind of like buff control mechanic, which he does not have anymore. And the problem here that people, well, first of all, there are two groups of people, right? There is a group that didn't care about Hood. Let's say I'm in that group. I never really used it for anything. I have a big enough account. I normally have a better answer, and it's fine. And for me, Hood may or may not be a better champion after the change. He might do more damage, and that's what I like, and that might be perfectly fine with me on a personal level. And maybe because of this, I will end up ranking Hood, and I otherwise wouldn't have. But then there is the other group of people. And the other group of people are the ones who already ranked and used Hood, because even though he wasn't amazing, he was a decent and underrated champion that has helped and is helping a lot of people get through content. And taking away this main core utility in the name of nothing else but damage effectively kind of like diminishes his worth to those people who already use him, because like now you can use him for 6.2 champion boss or 713 vision boss and plenty of other tricky fights like what you mentioned to deal with Medusa and stuff like that. And now you can't do that anymore, and you have invested Catalyst in this champion.
And that's what's frustrating, because
for you, this
they can
ruined.
say it's a buff, not a nerf, so we're not going to give you rank down tickets, which, you know, I understand those shouldn't be given.
Well, first of all, I don't think rank down tickets address the main problem here. The main problem
it doesn't.
here
Yeah, it doesn't address it even with that. That's what I was going to say.
The main problem
with rank down tickets, it doesn't affect what they did.
Yeah, exactly, because the main problem here, as I explained, I'll give like 2 brief explanations that hopefully will make everything click, right? If I'm holding an apple in my hand and Kabam says we're gonna buff apple, I'm gonna be like, cool. In my head, I am expecting a better apple or a bigger apple or more tasty apple, maybe more apples, but something apple related, right? Because they're saying they're buffing apples. But instead of, when they say buff apple, they take my apple away and they give me a banana, which is a completely different fruit, which I maybe don't want, which maybe I don't like. Or maybe I do, but it still isn't buffing an apple. It's taking something away and giving me something completely different that nobody asked for. Or the second, more in-game related example would be, let's say your alliance is struggling to defeat Thing boss. Now, a couple seasons ago, Gwenpool used to be one of the best counters to Thing boss, right? And Gwenpools ended up taking up to like rank 5, whatever, to defeat Thing. Why? Because you inflict bleed, so you can remove rock stacks, and also because you have ability accuracy reduction, and eventually you just ignore this whole rock stack building kind of thing. And Gwenpool was a very legitimately good option to defeat Thing boss. She wasn't the greatest champion, she was middle of the pack, some people like her, some don't, some don't care about her, but Kabam now is gonna buff Gwenpool, and they're gonna take away her ability accuracy reduction, they can take away her bleed. Instead they can give her, I don't know, regen, and they can give her shock. Both of those abilities do fuck all against Thing, and even though Gwenpool may or may not end up being a better champion after these changes, fact of the matter is, you can't use her anymore to defeat Thing boss in Alliance War.
Right.
And that is the problem. Because now, in theory, that can very well easily happen, because Gwenpool fits the description of Hood kind of like perfectly. She's middle of a tier champion, she's wildly used, there are some people who swear by her and who love her, and for smaller accounts she may be able to put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
And now we all need to collectively agree what is a buff.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's one of those things that makes a buff, quote unquote, murky. I mean, because you can say now, oh, we're taking things away to give you more damage, but what if people are actively using that utility, which now you've rendered useless, and we've spent resources that do not come easily to rank up those champions?
For them, it might be a situation where a buff is effectively a nerf, because it isn't really a buff, it's a change, it's an alteration. You don't increase or improve on something that already exists. You just give them basically a new character with Hood. And that is a problem. That is a very, very, very big problem. And if this kind of like trend continues, then again, you do not know which champions you kind of like safe to rank. How valuable is like your investment in rank up and commitment to a champion? Because we do not know which champions are on the list of getting changed and when, which champions are quote unquote good or bad enough to be changed, like, you know what I mean? And you don't know how they're gonna be changed.
Yeah, we just know that they said X number they were going to shoot for to change this year. They've done 4 so far.
Yeah, we just know that there's going to be a ton of champions changed, but we have no clue which ones, we have no clue how, and we have no clue what they're going to take away.
The only one we know for sure that's being worked
on is...
Well,
we know Black Panther and Miles.
Yeah, those are the only 2 that we know about.
But again, we don't know, for instance... Black Panther, what are they? They're taking Black Panther Classic, right? And okay, Black Panther, realistically, nobody's using, neither is Miles, therefore I don't think there's going to be any problem in any capacity, because those champions are so bad, so nobody's really investing in them. But as I said before, it could be Quake, it could be Doc Ock with some sort of tweak, it could be like Silver Surfer. They might give Silver Surfer more damage or an extra buff, but take away all the immunities, right? In which case, again, like... I didn't rank up Silver Surfer for damage. give me back my immunities, like, you know?
Yeah, that's... I mean, a lot of these things, like I said, making it very. It's taken away from the focus, which should be look at what's changing for the benefit of the character, and it's focusing on what did you take away from this character.
Yeah, exactly.
Which
So
is, I guarantee, not what they wanted to have happen, but it's turned into that with this particular champion.
yeah, exactly, because they took too many liberties with a character that many people are attached to and use. Like here, quite obvious solution is they take away the hex seal because they thought Hood is too powerful with that utility and a great amount of damage. So they went with, we're gonna add all this new shiny stuff, but it's too good, so we're gonna take some of the stuff away. Instead of simply thinking, maybe this new shiny stuff is too good and we need to tone it down, and maybe we just need to tweak some numbers but leave his main utilities. Then nobody would have had problem if they just had given him more base attack, more crit rating, or some tiny fury that activates here and there. Like, you know, they didn't have to do this whole hex pistol thing that potentially could do huge burst damage. Something that they wanted to press on people, but that makes a completely different character.
Yeah, I know what they went for. I understand, because what they did was they said, hey, we have another character like Elsa Bloodstone that can do pistol shots. Why don't we give them actual bullets, like ammo that you can count down?
But by the way, there is another problem with Hood and bullets, because it's much less like Elsa Bloodstone and much more like Diablo, to be honest.
Well, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, I know what their thought process probably was. Let's do something cool for that too. But then they made it so powerful, they're like, well, we can't let him keep his Fate Seal and Special 2, which is so stupid.
And
it's like, why not look at how can you let him keep that, but adjust what you're giving him?
I think that should be the base condition. We need to make sure that the character right now is effectively able to do everything he could do before, just better. I think that should be kind of like the base thought process when buffing a champion.
Exactly.
Especially when you, maybe not when you deal with meme champions, because they are like, nobody's using them, nobody cares. When you're dealing with champions that actively are being used by a significant portion of community, then you cannot render them useless for their current purpose, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I agree with that.
And then there is a second thing that I also kind of wanted to mention with hex pistols, and here is my like worry. Obviously, I will play around with Hood. I do have a 5-star Hood. I do have a 6-star Hood. None of them are like overly ranked, but I'll want to see the damage. But here is like a legitimate worry that I have about Hood, and it is the fact that he's gonna have the Diablo curse. When I looked at hex pistol mechanic, I thought, great. Somebody in Kabam office looked at Diablo and said, hey, you know what would be great if we made version 2.0? It's not enough that Diablo is a notoriously huge failure. They wanted to spread the ways of Diablo, which is what can happen with Hood. Just like Diablo, halfway through the quest, Hood can simply effectively stop working and lose most of his abilities. Because you reload a bullet by letting opponent miss, it's fine, that's one bullet, or nullifying a buff, which is 2 bullets, which is going to be the main kind of like easiest way how to reload. Start with 28 and it persists from fight to fight. But if you're going up against champions that do not have many buffs that you can't stagger, it's not even that they don't have any buffs, because you can't stagger permanent buffs, or if opponent gets a buff and you don't have a stagger on, you have no way of nullifying it. But there we go, right? So you can run out of bullets very easily, because you use 5 bullets per level 2, you use 5 bullets per medium attack, and it's not like you can avoid throwing mediums altogether in an average fight, I'd think.
Yeah. What would have fixed that is if they would have had it where he starts the fight, if it carries over from fight to fight over 28, you know what I mean? So he always has 28 no matter what, and it carries over anything over 28 fight to fight, but he always will have 28, and then have it where, kind of like what Elsa does, she reloads, and after a certain amount of time it reloads to 28. It should always do that instead of having it where
I think they definitely should have added some sort of reload mechanic, like if you run out of bullets, then after like 15 seconds you gain 10 bullets or something in a fight, or
something.
They don't do it like a persistent charge thing. It's just kind of like at every start of the fight you have 28 bullets, period. one or the other. But
Yeah,
the fact
just
that
have
you carry
28
them
and you
over
can
and
just
you
get up to
can run
42.
out of them, and you are not guaranteed to have enough reloads, it's very suspect.
Yeah, because you know, I don't know. I'm worried about that too, that you said that, because you see, originally my thinking was, oh, you'll at least have 28 every fight, but rereading it, no, they don't guarantee you'll have
Yeah,
28 every
it's a
fight.
persistent. If you finish a fight with one bullet, you
Yeah,
start the next fight with one bullet.
you only have one,
Yeah.
which is stupid as shit.
Which I think is the bullshit, and which could lead to the all-known Diablo situation where tough luck, oh boy, like you're out of ammo.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Someone asked, they said, you know, it says that third bullet point on reloading where it says make the opponent miss while invisible, load one bullet when visibility ends. Is it one no matter how many times they miss, or is it one per miss?
Oh,
I would
we don't know
imagine
that.
it's one per miss, but the way it's worded,
I think it's
don't know.
probably gonna be one per miss, but even then, because there's like a cooldown per miss, and like effectively, I can promise you that you will likely be using more bullets than you can reload with invisibility alone, because it's not like you can access the invisibility like with Ghost every time you dash back, it's there. Like, you know, you actually need to hold the block and you need to work for it. I'll drop a level 2, but level 2 in itself activates 5 bullets, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it should also be, they should have added like special 3 reloads all your bullets to max capacity, or 28 or something, or yeah, there are so many different ways to approach this. I
think they pretty much picked the worst one. They literally picked like the only variant where he can stop functioning.
Because what it comes down to is you're only going to want to take him into fights where you have a champion you're going against that has a ton of buffs, so you can just continuously nullify.
And again, it's not just a ton of buffs; it's a ton of buffs that expire and are reapplied. Because if opponent has a ton of buffs and are permanent, the stagger doesn't help.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about like the champion, Medusa.
Yeah, I know what you mean, like anything
Angela,
that Mojo works on, basically.
Yeah, even Kamala Khan, you know, because she has the Fury with her special and stuff. All those are the ones I'm thinking of.
So ultimately, like, maybe he's like insane damage dealer, which I doubt he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be good damage dealer for matchups where opponents have buffs. But I think even if he is a very good damage dealer, I think he becomes a lot more niche champion that loses vast majority of what made him liked in the first place. And again, it's the whole apples to banana story. It's like creating completely different character with completely different function in the game.
And Kodo in the chat said, if you have 5 champions in your team, I don't think you'll take Hood against opponents and nodes that don't gain buffs. But the problem is, think of when you only have 3 per team, and you're bringing him in to be your nullify champion because you're going on Alliance Quest or Alliance War. He won't be the person you'll take because the possibility would be you run out of that ability to use your bullets.
Exactly.
Yeah, and what Gandalf with an AK said too, let's not act like we actually cared for the Hood until the announcement. Certain players really liked him, and the others were just turning the cheek. But there were people that liked him.
I didn't care about the Hood. I still don't. I'm not fussed that on a personal level. I don't care. I never ranked my Hood, and likelihood I probably won't. But the problem is...
You and I represent the different spectrums, though. You're on the side that I don't give a crap, really.
No,
because that really
I'm not on the side that I'm saying I'm on the side where personally, for me, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah.
I don't give a crap.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't give a crap about Hood specifically, but I do give a lot of crap about what Kabam is doing, because if they do this once with one champion, they're probably gonna do it again and again and again and again, and eventually they will hit a champion I very much love, and in general, I don't think it is acceptable thing to do.
Right, and what I'm saying is, but what I was trying to say is, I understand that you're more upset about the situation of what it could do for future champions. But I'm saying, you and I are in a completely different spectrum of how you care about Hood in general, whereas you really don't care. It doesn't affect you. You're looking at the overall implications. I'm looking at that as well as the fact that it does affect me and my second account, because it's a champion that I use regularly, 5 days out of the week, every single Alliance quest, and that's why it's annoying.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And again, there's going to be a next champion. There's going to be, as I said before, Gwenpool. I'm not going to care too much about Gwenpool. Somebody in chat will. And then there's going to be the next champion, Night Rusher, and they're going to take away his like await countering, and it's like, oh, whoa, wait a minute. I like my Night Rusher. I ranked my Night Rusher for the things that Night Rusher does. I don't want him to stop being able to counter evade just for some shitty extra attack mechanic. and I think it's no way to play the game. I think this is the same issue what we had when Kabam said they're gonna do the tweak program 6 months after a champion is released, when everybody was mad about it. Because if they tweak every champion 6 months after it's released, you don't know whether you can rank it, whether they're gonna down-tune it afterwards, or what's gonna happen with the champion. There is this whole insecure situation happening in the community because you just don't know what's happening.
Right. You just wouldn't rank, or even if you pulled them, you wouldn't touch them until after you knew they were re-looked at by Kabam. It basically delay a champion for 6 months if you're a smart person, unless you're just risky and you want to throw.
Yeah, exactly. Or you just end up taking a risk for and living not knowing, and that is, I'm not gonna say terrifying because it's a video game, but it's definitely frustrating. It's kind of like, why would you do that? Why would you actively make the entire game feel so much more toxic, insecure, fragile, and frustrating for so many people just because you insist on doing something that nobody asked you to do?
Yeah. I will say to everybody, with every buff that we see or every change to a champion we see, do not rank champions up ahead of time.
Right.
Wait to see how the champions actually get played. Decide for yourself. See all the positives and negatives firsthand. Give yourself a few days. Don't wait. Here's what I don't want to see happen. I'm not just saying this with us, but I mean in general. What the worst thing you can do is the update goes live, let's say Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central Time, okay? Update goes live 1 p.m. Central Time. KT starts to stream at 1:30 p.m. Central Time, and instantly everybody asks, "Hey, should I rank up Angela? Should I rank up?"
I'm 100% sure that doesn't happen though, because it always happens.
It always happens, and I don't understand why people
But
think
it literally takes days, sometimes weeks, to kind of like draw some sort of meaningful, confident conclusions about these changes in the champion.
But that's why I say don't rank them ahead of time, because if we can't tell you even after the release within a day sometimes, we can't tell you ahead of time. And that's why I would hate for people to do that. You got to think about your own roster, obviously, but at the same time, I don't think any of these champions that is going to be so detrimental that if you don't rank them right now, that you will forever lose out on ranking them.
Let's face it, none of them are the next Jesus Christ second coming that's going to beat all the content for you.
But it's definitely something just to actively watch.
But okay, I think that is about to conclude. I think a very, very kind of like healthy KT time. We had some good stuff, we had some fun stuff, we had some happy things, and we had some frustrating things, as a life should be. Right?
Yeah, it's like life. And I think overall, like I said, we're going to end up we'll see more and more as time comes by, as the update comes either tomorrow or in the next couple days. We'll see how things are going to be going.
We forgot one thing that we need to quickly touch upon. Oh,
yeah, what's up?
My bad. We forgot to talk about Mangog.
Oh, crap. Oh, yeah, Mangog. We know about his abilities and such. So let's talk about him real quick. Sorry.
Yeah, let's jump on and check out Mangog, because we do know his abilities. We do not know Odin's abilities, but we do know Mangog. So let's take a look at him.
Yeah.
I did make like a video about him, but overall, I am quite impressed with him. On the paper, obviously, I'm not again jumping to conclusions saying that he's gonna be insane or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
he looks
just
cool.
Give me like 3 minutes to lay him out in the bare basic bone structure, and then we can discuss what do you think he's gonna be.
Sure.
Right, so the whole idea about Mangog, he's a big brutish monster. He has all rightish prestige. I think he's gonna be like 4th mystic class in prestige and about 15th or 20th overall, about 20th I think, so not too great, not too bad. As I said, mystic class, super huge, so probably extra large character. Does have access to some furies. He has access to unblockable, unstoppable. He has basically, if I would have to kind of like summarize him with character similarities, he kind of feels like Sasquatch in the sense that he has this hatred mechanic that reminds me a lot of this enrage or whatever mechanic Sasquatch has. And at the same time, he will have several options how you want to play, so I do think he is going to embody more utility than Sasquatch does. On his base, he's immune to armor break, and he's also immune to bleed, which is awesome. He takes a reduced amount of recall damage, which is quite interesting, and I like that because Mystic Champions typically are not suicide friendly, but by his kit you can kind of deduce that he probably will be. And the kind of like last important thing, what I said before, is you can kind of like pick your speed and how you want to play the character. You can do a lot of damage by charging heavy attacks, or you can do a lot less damage by using your special one, but then you gain full immunities to shock, incinerate, cold snap, and frostbite on top of whatever you already had. That means that you can have a ton of good immunities if you kind of like give up on some of the damage. And again, you can still stagger and buff control a bit, and level 3 can nullify up to 10 buffs and heal basically for each buff nullified, and then level 2 is a damage special attack. So all around, he does look quite interesting, and I think the devil's in the details. The devil's going to be in how viable his playstyle is, how well it adds up together, and obviously how good or bad his numbers look. If all that kit flows together and numbers are right, I think he's a very good contender for like top 5 mutant slot overall. What do you think?
Yeah, very intrigued. He kind of looks like a cross between Sasquatch, like you said, but also Dragon Man, because of the way he can heal back damage incoming when he's like unstoppable, and after
he can go unblockable as well and stuff like that.
Yeah, so he's kind of a cross between both of those, which I like. I like another XL champion. Mystic is kind of becoming an interesting class because, you know, for the longest time it's been like the Dooms and the Black Widow Clairvoyance and stuff, but now it's becoming like there's some big brutes in there too that could do like some heavy damage and do things a little bit differently, but still offer like, you know, some nullification and buff control. On paper, he looks like he could be pretty awesome. I would love to see him in action, and if he ends up being as awesome as I hope he is, I would love to get him as a champion because
I'll definitely be trying to grind for him.
Yeah, he's intriguing me. I'm definitely going to go for a grind to the 5-star once he is released. And I think he'll be released first since we got his abilities first, even though it was leaked. But I think he's going to be first. I think Odin's going to be second because Odin's going to be very sought after. But yeah, I'm hopeful for him.
Yeah, and he kind of like goes permanently unstoppable as well, whilst enraged until struck by special attack. And if you don't get struck, you just stay unstoppable whilst you are enraged. But you can kind of pause that enrage for a really, really, really long time, and in right conditions, you can spend an entire fight being unstoppable, which is quite huge. So there's a lot to look forward to. Unfortunately, we don't know nothing about Odin, so don't guys ask in the chat, but this is a champion that we do know something about because Kabam made a mistake and his abilities ended up being leaked on Reddit and everywhere else. But I am well interested in Mangog. If you want a full-on Mangog abilities, I made this specific video going through all of his abilities, like in detail, what I think about him and stuff like that. That video is on the channel, uploaded a couple days ago. You can just type in Mangog KT1, you'll find that video. But yeah, he definitely does look quite interesting. I do want to test him out. I'm not gonna jump to like straight up conclusions that he's gonna be insane or he's gonna awful. I'm saying, and this is very important that people do not like misinterpret this, I'm saying that so far on paper he looks like he has everything that's needed to have a very good potential. Ultimately, it again will depend on exactly how his numbers look, how his values are, exactly how his playstyle goes together, how easy or hard it is to play him, and that is what makes or breaks the champion every single time. But if everything goes well, everything translates well, he could be very, very, very good, and I don't say this too often about champions. So my expectations of him are quite significantly higher than they are of most other new champions in the game. But again, don't jump to conclusions. Wait till more information, gameplay, and everything else is available before you kind of like make your conclusions. But so far, from what I have seen, it is definitely very well worth to keep your interest, to keep following whatever's happening with him, and he might be a very important champion in this game.
Yeah, he definitely has potential to be really good. So we will see and go from there.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely look forward to it, and I will be, to be honest, now that I'm at home all the time, I'll probably end up grinding for like all the 5 stars, even unenthusiastically. But for this one, I'll put some extra points because I think he's gonna be quite high.
Yeah, I think he's going to be really good, hopefully, and that's all I can ask for. I think he's going to be a pain in the ass on defense too,
Oh,
but
yeah.
we'll see.
Well, I think Human Torch exists, so he's gonna shred it, but okay. Yeah, but that is it now. I almost missed out a point. We didn't. Good. Sorry, this episode lasted a bit longer, hour and 20. I typically don't want to keep these too much over an hour mark, but it is what it is. We kind of blabbed away a bit too much. I hope you guys can accept our apologies. But before we go, let's say a huge thank you to Mandalorian, who has done an amazing job today with me.
Thanks, I appreciate it, and thank you to KT for all the knowledge he drops on our faces all the time, and thank you to all of you for being here. Don't forget to hit the like button, share with your friends, family member. We are here every Sunday and daily for at least, KT's always streaming at least once a day, but he throws up videos like crazy, so just stay tuned to the channel. And we're getting close to 34,000 soon, and we'll do the last Abyss path with 6-star rank 3. So
yeah,
definitely
of cool stuff
share
coming
with your
definitely stay tuned. And
friends and family.
yeah, that is it for now, and we're gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.
Bye, everyone.
Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the